Before we get started, I would like to remind those of you who haven't been listening to any of the sessions that we really wanted to make a statement in PR. We wanted to show the power of PR. And we put together criteria from the beginning. We all agreed as judges to focus on work that had earned at the core. And for those of you who have difficulty understanding, that means that the idea is so powerful that it will be distributed organically. It's such a strong story. And we wanted earned at the core, but then we also said it has to be based on data-driven insights. It has to then have a creative strategy and really flawless execution, and then very, very importantly, it has to have real outcomes. It has to have measurable results, either business results or societal impact results, depending on what the campaign was. So if you enter in a campaign and you tell us that this is what you want to achieve, then we want to see how you achieve that in real numbers. Really important. So I have selected 10 pieces. It was very hard for me to select because I think that this year's work is incredibly, unbelievably impactful. I tried to choose the cases. You've all focused on the Grand Prix and probably most of the goals, but I tried to choose the cases that illustrate best how we looked at data, how we looked at results, how we looked at technology. So hopefully you enjoy that, and if you see anything else and we still have time that you want to talk about, then just raise your hand. Let's get started. First one that I wanted to highlight is Care Counts. It's a campaign for Whirlpool. The PR agency in this was Ketchum, and it's, by the way, it won a Grand Prix in creative use of data in cyber, which is fantastic. As I've said before, there are maybe ad agencies that won prizes here, but PR agencies that won prizes in other categories. I wanted to point that out. The reason why this was so successful, it was the data-driven insight. It was all about kids not coming to school because they didn't have any clean clothes, and in a collaboration between schools and Whirlpool, they provided washing machines, and they really were able to show that attendance really went up in those schools. It was a very powerful, very moving campaign with great insights and fantastic results. This one, because we always have these amazing NGO cases and charity cases. It's a huge category. But it's also really, really important to understand that brands can do great things. They can really, really increase their presence, increase their business results by doing something really good in society. And this one, it's Mirinda. It's a Pepsi brand. They did a fantastic campaign in India around exam time, because the insight was that a lot of teens are so stressed out about their exam time and the results that they have to deliver to their parents, that it really stresses them out, and it leads to suicides. It leads to really very, very, very terrible situation, and they don't dare to talk to their parents about it because so much is expected. So Mirinda did a short video film where they interviewed a couple of kids who then talked to their parents and said, I'm having a difficulty talking to you about this, but I want you to understand that I'm doing my best, but I'm not perfect. And then they amplified that in so many media. They used the cap on the bottle to say release the pressure, which was the title of the campaign. They used the bottles, 11 million bottles, as media. So they put letters from the students on the bottles. It was incredibly powerful. It garnered immense media attention, but more than that as well, it increased sales in a declining category. So a very strong example of doing well by doing good. Yeah, this one was also one of my favorite. It's called the Wheelchair Hour. It's from Poland. By the way, I've also tried to pick some pieces with geographic diversity because that was very important. We were blessed. We had 21 people in the jury, of which 20 different nationalities. So we were able to, every time when we had a case from a certain country, to have that juror, the judge, put it into the cultural context of the country, because it's hard sometimes for us to judge work that is not from our country. This one is a brilliant idea. The insight was that even though kids get their lessons driving cars, they get their driver's license, there's still a lot left to deserve, and particularly they don't understand necessarily what the impact is when they have an accident. And so in Poland what they did is they added 1 hour to every driving lesson course before you could take your exam, and you had to do an hour in a wheelchair, going over pavements, doing obstacles, real life obstacles. It was so simple and so impactful, and as a result of that, it is now it's going to be obligatory, and other countries have said that they're going to introduce this as well. So, great insight, beautiful execution, very simple, and great results. I love that one. A beautiful, simple campaign from Brazil. It's called Braille Bricks. It is by an association for the blind. They wanted to find a way to integrate blind students better in normal schools and give them more tools to communicate. And they wanted, their whole objective was to find a toy manufacturer who would work on them to produce these bricks. And they did a fantastic campaign. They delivered the concept of the bricks. They had a great PR campaign around it. And as a result, Lego reached out to them and said, "We'd love to work with you." So, mission accomplished, and it's going to be rolled out. I don't know, Kiki, if you have any more information, but it is going to be rolled out shortly. So, again, beautiful insight, great execution, great creativity, and a great result. So there were a couple of trends in this year's submissions, and a couple of them were like there was a lot of cases on gender equality. There was a lot of use of technology, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, product innovations, not just for the sake of it, but really long-lasting product innovations. But also there was a real increase in fantastic public affairs campaigns, and I have a public affairs background, so I'm always very keen to look at those. This is the first time for a long time that I can remember that we had so many strong submissions in public affairs, and actually that the public affairs case won the gold prize, the gold. And this was about two guys to go to a cinema. If you have time, look it up. It's a very stupid law in Spain that basically discriminated. The VAT on going to the cinema was higher, was 21%, while VAT of seeing a stage play was only 10%. It was a stupid law, and a stupid law requires stupid and simple solutions. So what they staged was a whole campaign around. They made a stage play around a film. So there would be two guys, they would come and they would say hello to each other, they would sit up front and they would say goodbye to each other. So it was two actors, a director. You needed to have the stage play registered with the authorities, so they would send it in. It was literally 6 lines of dialogue. And because of that, then the cinema price would be with the 10% VAT instead of 21%. And it led to a proposal to change the law, to equalize the law, which was fantastic. It was brilliantly done, and quite funny as well. We had a lot of great entries in real-time response, and it was hard for me to choose, but I decided to choose the president of Playlist, which was done by Spotify, and it was all based on a remark that President Obama made when he was in Sweden, and he said if he was asked what he was going to do after a presidency, and he said, "I want to be president of Playlist," and I want to be president at Spotify. And so Spotify immediately reacted, and Daniel Ek, the CEO, sent out a tweet and said, we've just created this job, it's called President of Playlist, and it has the following criteria, and it listed all the criteria for a really good president. And it had an amazing spread. It traveled over the world in online and offline media, and we thought it was so brilliant, so brilliantly used, and great story. This one, for me, there were a lot of cases that had great use of technology, and I wanted to point this one out. This one is from the Netherlands. I can be a little bit nationalistic here. It was for Vodafone, for a telecoms company, again doing well by doing good. They developed an app to help stuttering. Basically, what they did is they used rap and rappers, famous rappers in the Netherlands, to develop a program that helped stutterers getting over their stuttering. It was incredibly impactful, and it's now being rolled out throughout the entire country. So great use. They developed the app themselves, got a lot of publicity, and moreover, it really helped people who stutter to overcome their issues. And we talked about product innovation, and which doesn't always have to be high tech. We thought this was an amazing example. It was it's Savlon Healthy Hands campaign. One of the biggest issues, hygiene issues and mortality issues in India is the fact that people don't have the opportunity to thoroughly wash their hands. They use their hands for eating, and then they get ill, and quite often, particularly kids, die. So Savlon developed a program. All the kids still use chalk sticks in India to write on the whiteboards, etc. So that's a very normal product that they use all day. They developed chalk sticks, which worked as normal chalk sticks, but you had the remains on your hands, and then you were asked to wash your hands. You didn't need extra soap or anything. You just put your hands under the tap, and then you rinse, and it became soap. And it's incredibly, it's also being rolled out. I forget how many cases they've sold already. Again, a beautiful example of doing well by doing good, and a product innovation that's there to stay. This one is called Kiss the Kremlin. And it's a use of geo-tracking. We had a lot of smart use of technology and social media, from Instagram, using Instagram in a specific way. And here, this is the geo-targeting function. And basically what it did is you cannot protest safely in a lot of countries, and for example in Russia. So they had members of the LGBT community kiss each other and then post the pictures, and it was just as if they were doing it in front of the Kremlin. And it was so all the traffic went to the Kremlin without basically having to be there live, which is a fantastic way of I mean, we thought it may open the way for protesting and activism in a lot of countries where people can do what we often think is a normal way to express our opinions. So brilliant, incredibly successful, both in PR results as well as in reach, and this will have a lot of follow-up in other countries as well. This one was, again, it was an amazing example of using technology. They developed an app basically for new drivers, for kids who just had their driver's license, to keep track. You put the phone next to you, and so for example if you were to have a call, they would say, I'm sorry, I can't answer now because I'm driving. Or there would be like traffic jam, or you would have information on like speed, and they would say you might want to slow down now. So it was an app that interacted with the drivers, with young drivers, to make sure that they stayed safer on the roads. Incredibly impactful, very, very well developed, great results. Their insurance sales went up, and it was, of course, it's good because they want to have less accidents. So it was a great marrying of a business interest with a societal interest, and you'll see that a lot. That was another trend that keeps growing over the years, and it is a way for brands to make themselves remain relevant and make themselves connected, stay connected.